Perfect.
We are here, and it is right now. It is the Fight IQ UFC 326 preview brought to you by RotoWire. I have my boys with me as always. This is Joe Sunzu, and we all know Drake not a burden, of course. We are going to break down all 12 fights now. We did lose 12 fights on the UFC 326 card, headlined, of course, by the long-awaited rematch between Charles Oliveira and Max Holloway, the first fight, of course, more than a decade ago after a real freak injury to Charles Oliveira. I think it was something to do with his windpipe. Anyway, that was called off. And we have now fighting for the BMF title. Your mileage may vary on that, depending, no matter how cool Max does make it look. Still kind of a nothing title, but that's neither here nor there. We do have 12 fights to break down for you. And we're going to hop right into the card. But first, I just want to get the lay of the land from the boys here. And to me, this is a card where, I know we're all feeling it. Paramount deal, the pay-per-views went away, and now there's less incentive to put on great fights. Not that this isn't an acceptable card, because it is. But from a fan's perspective, even though there are some interesting fights on here, certainly not anything you would call pay-per-view. Nevertheless, how are you seeing it? How are you breaking it down for DFS and betting purposes, and what's your overall lay of the land? And I'll start with Joe. Joe, how are you seeing this card from a bird's eye view?
Yeah, I would take a slightly opposing view to your statement about Paramount Plus. I think there's actually more of an incentive for UFC to put on better cards. I mean, Paramount's going to be pressuring them. They're actually, charging money for commercials. So I do think, at least initially, especially this early on in the deal. With that said, last week was a really difficult card in Mexico City. I mean, there was, some interesting decisions. This one in particular, which actually benefited me, although it ended up not making a difference in the grand scheme of things. It was just kind of really a tough card. I think this card is good. I think it's maybe a better card for wagering versus DFS. There are a couple of underdogs on here that I think have a shot, but I do like a lot of the chalk. And for that reason, that typically does not make for a good DFS card. Thankfully, we don't have the same situation we had last week where there was nothing between 8,700 and 7,800, which I can't recall ever seeing in DFS on a card before. I've never seen something like that happen before in terms of like fight ranges. 87, 78, and then nothing in the middle. I mean, it was just crazy. So anyway, I like this card more from a wagering perspective. I still think it could be interesting depending on who you like at the top. But I'm excited for this card. I like this card.
Yeah, I can see how it would be kind of. I mean, there are intriguing matchups, as I said, but overall, just not what we had come to expect from a pay-per-view card. I think would be the only thing I would say. But what about you, Drake? How are you seeing this card? How are you laying it out?
I do agree that it is a much better card for betting. But I share your sentiment, actually. I don't think this card is worthy of a number. I think it's kind of pathetic. And I don't get me wrong, I like the BMF belt, but it's a fake belt. And I think it's dumb that it's headlining a pay-per-view card or, a numbered card. So that's just how I see it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Again, I get the sentiment. There are a lot of go along to get along time, and they say, hey, we have fights every week, and I do like that, and I do like the fact that we get to play DraftKings every week. And but I mean, all that aside, I just wish we could have done it more akin to how we did it about 5 years ago. That would make me a lot happier. But regardless, we are going to start our card. But before you do, I'd say that if you do want to subscribe to RotoWire, get 15% off any subscription with the code YouTube15 at checkout. Baseball heating up, of course. We have all the draft prep stuff for you. We have optimizers for baseball. We have basketball that's still going on. We have soccer content. So any subscription you want, that's YouTube 15% off at checkout. But now we are going to dive right into the card. And because, as I mentioned earlier, the fight between Jae Young Lee and Gaston Bolanos has been called off, We start now with Luke Fernandez at 8,900, taking on Rafael Balato at 7,300. Line on this fight: Luke Fernandez minus 220, Rafael Balato plus 185, and the speed of Luke Fernandez here is just the big thing for me. I think Fernandez is going to really be able to move in and out, hit Balato whenever he wants, and really get a comprehensive victory here. The reason why I don't actually love this for a DraftKings play is because Balato is very hard to hurt. We remember that all the way back from his fight with Jimmy Crute, and he never stops walking his opponent down. So while I do think Fernandez has the advantage here, I just don't know if it's going to be the bulldozing that I think a lot of people are expecting, and maybe one or two people sitting aside from me are expecting. So I like Fernandez to win. I don't like a lot about Balato's game, but I think he might be tough enough to withstand kind of a beating here, and I think he's physically strong enough to upend any major grappling. So I don't know if I love it for DFS purposes, but we will see what the boys think, and we are going to start with Drake. Drake, how you see this fight?
Yeah, I completely disagree with you. And you're talking about Balato's chin, basically. But if you go back and you look at the 4 fights he's had in the UFC, actually, let's go back to include his Contender Series fights. So 6 fights. He's been knocked down in 3 of them. Those 3 fights were all against strong strikers. 3 fights he did not get knocked down in were Navajo Sterling, which is a grappler, Paul Craig, who's a grappler, and Murtaza Talla, which, I mean, there's not much to really say about him. So I completely disagree. I love Fernandez. I think at his price point, his value is massive. And Balato has shown the last couple fights his gas tank is terrible. I can see him just getting lit up.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Fernandez does have the athleticism advantage here, and he's going to be the cleaner striker. But I don't know. I mean, no one's ever really done that to Balato before, so it's kind of hard for me to trust it. But definitely is a possibility. Joe, how do you see this fight?
Yeah, so we talked about this before when you came on the air. I think Luke Fernandez is sneaky live by sub at plus 1,400. If you look at his record, yeah, he's 6-0 as a pro. He's also got a pretty deep amateur record. He's not lost as a pro. He's not lost as an amateur. I got it on pretty good authority that the last time Luke Fernandez actually lost a fight was Pee Wee Baseball. He got dusted by a pitch, charged a mound, and got tackled from behind by the catcher. And that's the last time Luke Fernandez ever lost a scrap. So I like him here. Obviously, I think he can win, but I do see him winning by finish. Could be a knockout. That's actually a more favored outcome than by submission. But if you look at him, he had 2 grappling matches last year where he beat Phil Hawes, who I believe is a black belt, and he beat Eric Anders. Okay, Eric Anders, fine. Not an easy out, not the old Eric Anders, but still, he won 2 grappling matches. So I think he's very live by sub. He's won a number of his fights, both in amateur and professional by sub. He's got a mean choke. I could see him certainly maybe dropping Balato, as Drake mentioned, dropping Balato and then just hopping on him and grabbing a neck. I could see that happening. I could see that as a very reliable outcome. And I think 1,400 is just like a huge overlay. I would be all over that. And I am. I will tell you, I bet whatever the equivalent is, $72.08. Don't judge. I had 8 cents in my account I wanted to get rid of. I put that on the 14-1 to win slightly over 1,000. So that was my, one of my early plays, and go Luke. I also think he could be good for DraftKings because he's got finish equity.
Yeah, I agree. The equity's there. Just something I'm not feeling. Call it a personal preference, but we will see how it goes. And I see you there, Joey. I'm going to be more engaged from here on out. I promise. We are going to move on to the next fight, and it is Rafael Tobias. I think it's Rafael at 9,000, taking on Dair Nergoje at 7,200. Line on this fight: Tobias minus 175, Nergoje plus 150. And Nergoje was actually thought of as a decent-ish prospect when he came in. He's a good, clean striker. He's got power, but man, the upright posture and just the inability to stop any grappling whatsoever, I think it's going to hurt him here. Tobias is a willing grappler. He's also athletic. And Ngozi, I just don't see how you can trust him at this point. Like the minute his shoulders hit the mat, he's getting submitted. So I don't think you can trust Ngozi. I'm a little surprised the line is it's not thin, but it's kind of I sort of would have expected this in the 200 range just based on how Ngozi has been performing at this point, which is to say not very well. So I like Tobias, I should say, quite a bit in this spot, and total fade on Ngozi here, but we'll see what the boys think. Joe, how you see this fight?
Yeah, so Dyer has not exactly had a stellar run in the UFC. I mean, 2 fights back, he missed weight. I mean, he always looks perpetually soft. And here's a guy from, the former Soviet Union that actually can't wrestle. He was a minus 400 favorite on the main card and got Komorid in round 2. Last fight, he got Ezekiel choked in round 1. So what do? They give him another guy that has some ground equity in Tobias. Did you read the salaries, Chris? I apologize. If you did, I missed them.
I did, sir. They are. Would you like them again?
Please.
Okay, they are. They are Tobias at 9,000, Ngozi at 7,200.
Yeah, look, I don't hate him. I mean, he's probably not going to get ownership based on line value because 9,000 you would typically expect a higher betting line, but I do think he's definitely got. I mean, he won his last fight on the Contender Series by rear naked choke, and you're putting him up against the guy that just was choked out in his last 2 UFC fights. So, I mean, the writing's on the wall here. Let me take a quick look at what he is by submission to Tobias. I'm guessing you're not going to get a lot of equity there. He's actually plus 165 by submission, plus 350 by KO, and plus 600 by decision. So everybody is looking at this as a finish. So I'm gonna follow that train, and I'm gonna go with Tobias by submission. And because I think he's going to be underowned, I do like him at 9K.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I agree with the underowned sentiment too. And just because he is a debuting fighter, people could look at Ngozi, they could see the 2 submission losses, but I really don't think he's going to function that way. I think people go for name value first in the guys they recognize, and Tobias is not that. And a heavy fade on Ngozi, as I said, who got subbed out by Ribeiro, who I believe is no longer in the organization, but Ngozi is. So we can figure that one out. Drake, how do you see this fight?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Dyer at all, especially after those last 2 fights. The weird thing is that if you look at those fights, he wasn't taken down in either of them. In fact, he has 100% takedown defense. He has gotten submitted off of his own takedowns, which I find very impressive. So I really like Tobias in this. The only thing that worries me is that he's just 22 years old. I think that the UFC is handing him a curveball or a fastball and just trying to here you go, here's your shot, take it, run away with it, see what you can do. I'm not overly confident, but I do think he wins just because Dyer is not that great. Like I said, I just worry about the age.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And definitely guys coming in, and I actually have an underdog play similar to that coming up, similar to that rationale, I should say. So I get it, but Ngozi has just been he's not quite on the level of a Daniel Medina. Don't get me wrong, but that was pretty much my rationale for taking his opponent. Didn't really see too much of him. Didn't have too much tape on him, but it was Daniel Medina, so we went with it, and we got what we got. I think there's kind of a similar thing going on here, but we will see how it goes. But we're going to move on to the next fight, which is Sumadarji at 9,100 taking on Jesus Aguilar at 7,100. Line on this fight, Mudarji minus 190. 194, that is. Jesus Aguilar plus 169. Interesting fight. Aguilar, just a hard swinging grappler. Sumadarji, the more so as his career has progressed, the in and out fighter. Used to be more of a brawler. Now uses his length a little better. Is an in and out fighter. He's going to have, I believe it's 10 inches of reach on this one, which is just a staggering number. And I don't think Aguilar is going to be able to close that distance. I think Mudarji has too good footwork. Is going to be too quick, and I think he's just going to piece him up for as long as it lasts. If he does get an Aguilar's tough, he might just piece him up for the duration. But I do not think Aguilar gets in on the inside to see those takedowns. If he does, we've seen how Mudarji doesn't react well with wrestling in the past, even in fights that he's clearly winning, as we saw in that Matt Schnell fight a couple of years ago. But I just don't think he gets it there. So I got to go Mudarji in this one. But an interesting style matchup. And we're going to start with Joe. Joe, how you see it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way to look at this fight is that it's likely going to go to decision. Sumadarji, as you referenced, has a 10-inch reach and a 4-inch height advantage. He really just has to keep this standing. I mean, that's really where he wins this fight. I see going back to UFC 305 that in 2024 that Aguilar did have a guillotine choke. I think his best bet here is to try to wrestle and to try to get Sumadarji down, because he will just get picked apart with giving up that 10-inch reach advantage. So I really do see that as his equity. I don't love this fight for DraftKings because I think if it does remain standing and does go to decision, it's not going to score very well. I don't think I'm going to have a lot of ownership here. I don't really like either side. I don't like Aguilar. I don't like Aguilar's floor, and I don't like Sumadarji's ceiling. So to me, this is kind of a fight to pass. It's a lot harder now to pass with one fight off, but I think you look at this as a potential pass, because I would be very surprised if you're going to get 10x back on this fight. So give me Sumadarji. I think, it's probably a better fight to wager on, maybe even to use Sumadarji in a parlay, but I really don't see this as a great DK fight to play either way.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say. We know that Mudarji does hit hard for the weight class, and I do think if Aguilar gets his game going, it could be a lot of points in the grappling. It's a tough one. I kind of like. I tend to agree, Joe. I don't think that it's a GPP fight, certainly, but 9,100 is at least, I think, a decent ceiling for cash. And if you like Aguilar's potential as the grappler, 7,100 is certainly a good price too. But we'll see what Drake thinks. Tracy, this fight.
Nope, lock in Aguilar.
Oh,
lock it in. Sumadarji has been submitted 6 times, including once by Tim Elliott, who also only had or was down 6 inches of reach. I mean, it's not 10, but still, all it takes is getting in there, a trip, and it's done. He obviously has no ground game at all. He doesn't know how to defend the submission. I love Aguilar in this spot. The 10 inches is whatever. If he wants to stand and bang, yeah, he's going to lose. But he knows the path to win. He knows the submission. He knows to get Sumadarji down. Mudarji's takedown defense isn't great. I mean, this should be a gold mine.
Yeah, I do think when you get into double digits in the reach, I do think that gets a little dicey. But we'll see how it plays out. Like I said, definitely interesting style matchup there, and I can see both ways it goes. To be honest, but now we're gonna move on to another fight, and I apologize in advance. Tomen Dumbarell. I'm not going to try the first name. Tomen Dumbarell at 8,400, taking on Cody Durden at 7,800. Line on this fight, Tomen Dumbarell is minus 160. Cody Durden plus 140. And I think what we saw into Tomen Dumbarell's UFC debut is he really can't stop takedowns. He's too much of a willing scrambler for my taste. You can tell that he likes to try to hit submissions. I'm sure he has a decent submission game, but Cody Durden is more of a lockdown grappler, and I just think Tunan Dumbrell throws so hard in the pocket. I think he's going to give up a lot of those reactive takedowns and control time, and I think he's going to get himself in trouble if he tries to scramble up too quickly or play a guard submission game. There's a fighter later who I do think is going to do well playing an opportunistic submission game. I don't think Tumen Dumbrell is that guy. So I'm going Cody Durden in this spot. That's going to be my first dog play, although albeit slight of the day, but we'll see what the boys think. Drake, how you see it?
Yeah, I would agree with you if Durden didn't suck so much against better grapplers. I mean, he lost to Alan Nascimento, and Nascimento didn't get a takedown either. Durden is great against anybody who can't seriously grapple, and that's going to be the problem. Durden will get I love playing Durden against strikers because he chains takedowns and he scores well for DFS. But going against another grappler, he puts himself into a terrible spot. He's going to get choked out in this fight.
Yeah, definitely could. I don't think we've seen that enough. I would have to see it more, but definitely understand that the path is there. What about you, Joe? How you see this fight?
Yeah, I mean, Durden doesn't really train. I mean, he doesn't get good looks because he doesn't want to be away from home. I honestly just don't see how. Look, how does he even still have a job? I mean, he's lost 5 of his last 6 fights. His only win is the ghost of Matt Schnell. I really don't see how he gets the win here. I mean, give him some props for marrying Amanda Bobby Cooper, who's now I guess Amanda Brundridge. She's definitely had some hot Vaseline moments during her fight career. So give him some props for locking her down. But aside from that, honestly, I'd feel a lot better if I knew this guy actually trained and went to a camp where he could get some looks. I don't love the favorite here, but I do think I lean more towards Drake's point. I don't know how much of this fight I'll have. I think the only reason Durden still has a job is because he just will take any fight. I'd have to look and see what his comp is, but he takes pretty much anything they offer him. But I think this is a pink slip fight for him. I don't think that's going to motivate him anymore because I think he already said that his home life is his priority and not fighting. So give me the favorite here.
Yeah, interesting. I just think if Durden gets his game going, I guess it's similar to the Mudarji fight. I think if either game gets going, that they have the potential to score a lot of points. So true binary fights in that sense. But we're going to go on to the next fight here, which is Alberto Montez at 8,500 taking on Ricky Turcios at 7,700. Line on this fight is Montez at minus 180, Turcios plus 155, and actually wrote this up as a play. I feel like the dynamics here line up pretty well. Turcios is like a dogged wrestler to the point where he's careless, and Montez loves nothing more than to try to grab your neck in standing positions on the ground, and lock you up in a Darce choke or some kind of choke. Very opportunistic, and I think Ricky Turcios is way too sloppy, and I think he's going to get caught in some kind of choke. Alberto Montez actually looks to me like he hits decently hard. I was kind of surprised that I only saw one KO TKO on his resume, but nevertheless, I do think that Turcios is going to have his early success. He's going to get too comfortable, and he's just going to get his neck snatched up. So I am taking Albert Montez here. I think that's happening by submission, but Montez is going to be the stronger party here. Most people are when facing Turcios. So I think Turcios is going to really struggle to get his game going. I like Alberto Montez as the favorite here, and I like him to end it with a submission. But we'll see what the boys think once again. And I think this time we're starting with Drake. Is that correct?
No,
Joe.
Oh, Joe. Okay, Joe. Joe, what do you got?
Yeah. Okay. So I like Montez by sub here. I think honestly that's the only way he does win. My only concern is that he got the contract in October of 2024, and he had 2 fights canceled. His fight, he actually was offered another fight, seemingly. And oh no, it was a contender series fight. Sorry. So he was offered a fight April 12th, 2025, and he withdrew. Right. So now almost a year later, I mean, I don't know why it took them a year to get him another fight unless he was hurt. That's what I'm concerned about. That he's been hurt, and that's why he hasn't fought since October of 2024. So what is that, 18 months? I mean, he's been out of the ring for a while, but like he essentially all his wins are by sub, and that's where his equity is here. And to your point, Chris, Tercios is just kind of a wild man. I believe he did win the Ultimate Fighter, did he not? Yeah, he won the Ultimate Fighter. But even so, I think if Montez gets him down and he is not impaired in any way and he is like ready to go and not injured, I think he could have a pretty short day of work here. And I like Montez by sub.
Does anybody else hear feedback, or is that me? Just me?
I don't hear any feedback.
You do? Okay, let me see what's going on here. Hello?
Okay, that's good.
Okay, yeah, no idea what that was. But okay, I think we are back to normal, and we're going to go to Drake.
Short and sweet because we started 25 minutes late because somebody couldn't figure out their life. Montez.
Somebody is doing adult things. I don't know. That's
my adult things ended 4 hours ago.
That must be nice. But yeah, no, I agree, and I do think the shorter the better because that's just kind of Tercios. I do think Tercios could be like Tercios is usually heavily prized as an underdog just because he actually has a floor. So we'll see how the ownership for that shakes out. It might be interesting. But we're going to go now to our next fight, which is Dante Johnson at 9,500, taking on Cody Brundage at 6,700. Line on this fight is Johnson at minus 900, taking on Brundage at plus 600. And I know I'm going to get a wave of crap for this, and I probably deserve it. But when you look at a guy like Dante Johnson, he's an athlete who hits hard. That's who he is. And good for him. And that might be enough here, honestly. He might just run through Cody Brundage. But Brundage has at least shown he's been able to tough out some spots, and he does have a real wrestling background. And I'm gonna see if Dante Johnson can handle that. I don't like him as this big of a favorite. I'm just going by the line here. There's a guy with experience. I know that for an MMA fighter, Dante Johnson has an extensive amateur background, which means he's had 6 or 7 fights, and he's lasted a little longer in those than most of his professional bouts are. For 1-round fights, but so that might be something, but I don't know. I just don't see a lot in him aside from good athlete, which is fine at middleweight. But I'm going to go with the skill set here at the big disparity. But I totally will not be surprised if Cody Brundage just gets run through. But I am going for the big dog on this one. But we will see everybody shaking their heads as expected, and we're going to go to Drake to find out why.
How much did you have to drink before this show?
No, just water for me, sir. I live clean.
Cody Brundage has got to be the worst fighter the UFC has ever had. You could put him against Sam Alvey right now, and I would bet against Brundage.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, dude, he got beat up by Cedric Dumas, who Dante Johnson just rolled through. Where Dante Johnson, he's got great takedowns, he's got great trips, he knows how to clinch, he's got excellent power. I see no way in which Brundage wins this fight, especially because what Brundage has shown us, particularly with his last fight, is he just wants to run up on you. And the last time we saw somebody do that, they got chinned immediately and they fell down. So I just, there's absolutely zero possibility of me ever siding with Brundage in this fight.
No, I get it. I just I can't side with a minus 900 for a guy who doesn't appear to be an MMA fighter. at least to my eyes. A good athlete who hits hard. We'll see if it's enough. It might be, but I just can't go for it. Joe, how do you see this fight?
Yeah, I mean, the only reason, the only thing I disagree with what Jake said is, Drake, I think you're really missing out, is you might want to throw a few bucks on Cody Brundage by DQ. Because that seems to be where his win equity is.
Since he's a bitch.
Is Cody, I don't even like, I was looking to see if that was an actual real prop. I don't believe it is. But I agree with everything you said. He's I think we're going to have two Codys, maybe three. I think we're going to get two Codys get their pink slip and one Cody leave their gloves in the ring. So this is not going to be a good day for Cody. Shout out to Cody Sapphic. It's always a good day for Cody Sapphic. But like, this is not going to be a good day for any of the Codys fighting on this card. And someone should see whether we've ever had three Codys fighting on the same card and all three lose. Two of them get cut and one of them leaves their gloves in the ring. So I don't see, I see Johnson smashing here. Now again, is it a good DraftKings play? I mean, I think at his price point, he needs to get it done. What is he, 9.7K, Chris? I think at 9.7K, he needs to get it done relatively early.
9.5K,
9.5, okay. At 9.5, you're not going to get a lot of value unless he gets it done quickly, and Cody Brundage may be able to stick around for a round. So that's my only risk. Look, and I agree, Chris, I do agree with you that betting him at minus 800, I would look for props. I would look for like round one, finish, some kind of finish. Like, I would not put a straight bet on virtually anybody at minus 800. So I do agree with you there, but not enough to place an underdog wager on Cody, unless I could find that prop of Brundage by DQ.
By the way, I see Joey. By the way, this is everybody who told me that I was a big dummy and Edgar Chairez was going to,
I think he won that fight though. So I mean,
no, I don't think he did actually.
I agree that was a bad decision, and I don't know why the UFC cut Bunez unless he complained. Like, why did you cut a guy that arguably won? Like, that didn't make any sense unless he really, because you could tell he wasn't happy after the decision, right?
To be fair, he won the first round via backpack, so it wasn't the most exciting thing.
No, I agree, but still, you cut a guy that got a bad decision, or at least in theory, a bad decision, and that just seems low class, personally.
Yeah, well, that's welcome to the UFC, Joe, especially the modern day one. All right, but we are going to move on now. Keep that fight in the back of our minds, certainly for tomorrow. But we're going to move on to Long Zhao at 8,300, taking on Cody Garbrandt at 7,900. Line on this fight: Zhao minus 160, Garbrandt plus 140. And in the right matchup, Garbrandt can still have his moments. Figueiredo and Honey Barcelo certainly not that. Kelleher was that, but the fight before that, Trevin Jones, he barely moved for 3 rounds, scored 26 significant strikes and picked up the decision. I just don't think you can trust Garbrandt, especially a fighter like Long Zhao, who's good at keeping distance. He's a strong wrestler in his own right, and he's good at moving in and out. I don't think Cody's speed is going to be enough to overwhelm, which I think is kind of what he needs these days, like he had against Brian Kelleher. I just can't trust Cody Garbrandt at this point. It's going to be not quite a full year, couple months shy of a full year, but he has been out of the octagon for a while. I guess he fights once a year now. That would sort of be the trend, but I don't think this is going to be a particularly good fight for DFS. I will say that. I think it might be staring in the mirror again, a la the Trevin Jones fight, especially, as I say, Long Zhao good at keeping distance. So not one of my favorite fights for DraftKings, despite the closeness in salary, which usually does indicate fights that you want to have leverage in. Not for me, I don't think. I think this one might turn into a staring match, as I say, but we'll see what the boys think. And we'll start with Joe. Joe, how you see it?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that this won't be a great fight for DFS, I don't think. I could see Cody running a lot, or at least trying to run. I wouldn't put a lot of stock in his victory against Brian Kelleher. what a lot of people, well, actually, I'm sure you guys know, but what some casuals might not know is that Cody had before he got into MMA, he had a long career in boxing, and he admittedly was concussed multiple times. And that's what concerns me about him is when you've had that many concussions, so many that you can't even remember in boxing, right? And look, he had a good little run in MMA. I mean, honestly, I think he hit it at the right time where there wasn't the same level of talent there is at the weight class right now. I don't think even if he was in his prime, I don't think he would be a top 10 bantamweight right now. I just don't see it. I just think he was champion at a time like a Ronda Rousey. Like Ronda Rousey would not be top 10 right now or top 5 in her prime in the UFC as a one-trick pony. And I think Cody Garbrandt would not be a champion in his prime in this 135-pound weight class. Can he win this fight? Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess he could win a greasy decision if he stays moving and Long can't get to work. But I don't love this fight for DFS. I'm just going to say I default to Long here. And I do think if Garbrandt loses, he either leaves his gloves in the ring or he gets cut.
Yeah, I don't see a lot in this one. I still think Cody is pretty gun shy, and I think every loss just kind of perpetuates that. And he's staring down the barrel of a couple now. So I think we're going to lean towards the more inactive Garbrandt. But Drake, how you see it?
No love for no love.
Yeah, not ever.
This is a terrible matchup for Cody. Aside from how boring he's been since his return, he's facing a better striker. He's facing a reach disadvantage of 5 inches. He's facing a volume disadvantage. I was really hoping when I saw this matchup that Garbrandt would somehow be the favorite, just because I have way more confidence in Long. That's obviously not the case. I think there is a contrarian choice here, or chance, because if Long gets going and Garbrandt is just standing still, we could see him just, eventually piece him up and then knock him out. So, I mean, I think it's a good GPP play. I wouldn't play a ton of him, but I do think that possibility is there.
Yeah, that's a good shout. If Cody's just totally gone, then Long Zhao could step in there and do it. But I agree, GPP only. I don't really like this fight anywhere else, but it's tough to know with Garbrandt. There's always a piece of somebody who thinks the explosive 2016 Garbrandt's going to come back, but I just don't see it. But we're going to move on now to the next fight, which is it is Gregory Rodriguez, 8,600, taking up Bruno Ferreira at 7,600. Line on this fight, Rodriguez minus 157, Ferreira plus 137. And you can say, if you'd like, that the first meeting was kind of fluky, where Ferreira knocked him out. But why does this fight need to be happening again? And how is the guy who won via knockout the underdog again? That doesn't quite make sense to me. I think the dynamics are largely the same. I just think that Gregory Rodriguez is that guy he's gotten better, but he's still that guy from the Contender Series who, if you put him on the back foot, he's a taller guy and he just doesn't react that well. And I think Bruno Ferreira is, especially in the first round, as we know, that guy who is real estate in the octagon and throw hammers until he gets you out of there. There's always the gas tank issue with Ferreira, but he went 3 rounds with Vittori and looked pretty okay throughout the fight. I mean, he certainly didn't look like he was dying. Certainly didn't look like he couldn't fight. Wasn't enough for Vittori to take the initiative, certainly. And we know that he does have a good gas tank. So I don't know though. This whole thing is weird to me. I get that Hobocop is on a good run now, but Ferreira is not on a bad run himself. He's won his last 3. He's won 4 out of his last 5. I don't know. I can't really do anything but pick Ferreira here because it was short, but I already saw the fight, and that guy is now the underdog, so I'm picking him. So my pick is Bruno Ferreira. But we're gonna see if the boys have changed the victor from the first fight. And it starts with Drake. Drake, how you see it?
My victor has changed because I had Bruno in that fight. I've generally been against RoboCop in quite a lot of fights, but he continues to climb. You've already mentioned that he continues to get better. I don't hate Ferreira in this fight like at all. There's obviously a major upside with both of these guys when it comes to knockout and even submissions. I just think that RoboCop has gotten in better and smart enough to avoid that clash that Bruno's going to try to throw at him. So it's you got to have both sides of this fight. I just like RoboCop a little more.
I get it. I get I would have expected the line and the DraftKings salary to be pretty even at least. I don't really understand a gulf there. And if you have one, I feel like the straight pick, to say nothing of what you're actually going to do, coordinating lineups has to be fair. But we will see how Joe, how you see this fight?
Yeah, so this is my first dog play. Look, we need to find some underdogs here for lineup builds. I'm going to take the winner of the last matchup at 7.6K and probably be like over-owned to him in DFS. I don't know how I would bet this, although actually I do know. I'm sorry, I do know how I would bet this. I would bet this as does not go to finish. Fight does not go the distance. I see this as ending one way or another. And I think that is maybe the safest way to play this is does not go the distance. I will give you those numbers really quickly and tell you what that is. That is looking okay. So no, it's not a lot of great value there. Does not go the distance is minus 450. However, that bodes well for DraftKings. So you could play both sides of this in mass entry, have some Ferreira, have some RoboCop. But honestly, the way that I've been playing DFS lately, I have not been doing a lot of builds. So I am going to, predominantly use Ferreira here because I do need the line. I do need the value, the 7.6K to help me get the other guys in that I really want. So I see no reason. And again, I agree with you, Chris. I think this should be a pick 'em. The only thing I will say is that, yes, they're both on win streaks. RoboCop has had a better schedule, has fought better competition. Obviously, aside from the Vettori, who I think is pretty much washed right now. So, yeah, give me Ferreira here at 7.6K. It will help you get in some of the other guys you want. But just in general, you should have exposure to this fight because not me, but the market thinks that this is not going to go to decision. So that usually bodes well for DraftKings.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest ownership speculation guy, but I have to think Fahey is going to be chalk when people see that the underdog is the guy who won the first fight by knockout. Still think he's worth the pick, but I think it's worth noting that in GPPs he's probably going to be a little bit chalky. That would just be my read in any case. But we're going to move on to the next fight now, which is which is a pick'em. Oddly enough, it's Michael Johnson 8,200 taking on Drew Dober 8,000. Line on this fight is Johnson minus 125, Drew Dober plus 105. So a little bit more pick'em on DraftKings than it is in the actual betting line. I am going with Michael Johnson here. I think he hasn't really lost his speed that much with age. Certainly not his hand speed. He's going to be the longer fighter. We've seen Drew Dober struggle with speed, struggle with the speed of John Silva. Now, of course, I'm not comparing Michael Johnson with John Silva, but Michael Johnson, also a former featherweight. So we know that, he does have that speed to come up and he can put his punches together and show some power. So I am going to go with Michael Johnson here because if you're going to ask me which one of these guys is more shop-worn, I'm going to go ahead and tell you it's Drew Dober. He just looked slow in his last fight. Not to mention he's not too far removed from getting his bell rung about 100 times by Manuel Torres. And you can only take so much of that. So, I just think it has to be Michael Johnson. I think people who are going to fade him because he's the older fighter, and you have memories and not altogether bad ones or incorrect ones of him not being a star, but I don't think Drew Dober is the killer that you imagine him to be anymore either. So I'm going to go Michael Johnson here. I do think you need both sides. Of course, this is the fight. This is the leverage spot, I think, where you're going to get a lot of your points out of one fighter. I'm taking Michael Johnson here, and we will see what the boys think. Joe, we'll start with you. How do you see it?
Yeah, I'm pretty much with you 100% here. I think that Dober's got one of the biggest heads I think I've ever seen. And he has been taking a lot of damage, a lot more damage lately. Now, I will agree that the Zuhelber win is not aged well after what King Green did to him last week, but I still see Johnson as having a speed advantage here. The other thing is I'm fairly certain that this does end in knockout, and it's a lot more palatable. Minus 200 does not go to decision here. And by the way, Chris, you mentioned age. The age difference is not that great. I mean, Dober's 37, Johnson's 39. I mean,
but there's a miles difference, I think.
Yeah, or even 5 years apart. So, I like that Johnson's trading at Kill Cliff FC, decent training camp, coming off a win, good hand speed. All the damage Dober is. I've always liked Drew Dober as a fighter. I mean, but he's taken a lot of damage, and I see this fight ending inside the distance. You probably do want some exposure to both sides, but I'm going to be much heavier on Johnson. I think he gets the win. I think he gets the finish at 8.2K. I like that play.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we're gonna find out why we're wrong in a second here. Drake, how do you see it?
I can't believe you can put so much confidence into Michael Johnson when his last 3 wins are Zeluber, Azader, and Flowers. And then you can say all you want about Dober losing, but he lost to Torres, Silva, and Moicano, which are all top fighters in the division. So
Moicano is no longer a top fighter in the division.
He was at the time, though. So it doesn't.
James Kahuna.
Yeah, but we're talking about losses aging, though. We are. But go ahead.
Regardless, he outstruck Jean Silva. He obviously got plowed over by Torres, but Michael Johnson is nowhere near Torres. And then he beat Kyle Prepolek. Not that that's the greatest win. He still has he still throws almost 5 per minute. He throws more than Johnson does. He has neither one of these guys are going to likely go for takedowns, but
if someone will, it's Johnson. Let's say that.
I'd actually be really curious to see how that would work out, considering Dober has 9 submission wins in his career. I don't think that would work in Johnson's favor, to be honest. I just think there's way too much stock being put into Johnson right now. Johnson does not have that much power. I don't see it. Dober, I think Dober, they get into one of those, dirty boxing, and he just flatlines Johnson.
Could be. Johnson definitely needs to use his footwork here, but Dober just looked pretty slow, and he didn't have the easiest of time putting Prepolek away, and everybody, including me, thought he would. So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting thing to see. I think Dober is a defensible pick, of course. Don't get me wrong, but I just have to go Johnson here personally. But we will move on now to Raul Rosas Jr. at 8,700, taking on Rob Font 7,500. Line on this fight, it is Raul Rosas minus 270, Rob Font plus 230. And to me, I'm just going that this is too big of a step up for Raul Rosas Jr. I mean, every step of the way, more or less, he's had a more and more difficult time putting opponents away or looking really dominant against them. It's just kind of this lay and pray kind of style, especially against a fighter like Arichi Lang, who does hit hard. Rob Font isn't known for his power, but certainly for his crisp boxing. And while Rob Font does get taken down a lot, he does manage to get back to his feet. I mean, Gene Matsumoto took him down 7 times, and he still landed 98 significant strikes in that fight. So the guy is a dog. The guy is going to make Raul Rosas Jr. work. And I consider this, even though we can all agree that Rob Font is past his prime, I think we can consider this, his step up fight. And I just don't think he's really done all that much to let us know he's ready for it. He's got the blanketing style, so be it. But if he can't sub Rob Font, and I don't think he can, I don't know what it's going to look like in rounds 2 and 3. And Rob Font has been having to deal with these wrestlers for a lot lately, and I like taking fighters like that. Even if you didn't look all that great against those wrestlers, if you have to train for wrestlers over and over and over again, eventually you're going to pick up something. And I think Rob Font might surprise us because of course, training takedown defense is basically all he's ever going to have to do here. And I think it's going to work out for him. So I'm taking Rob Font. I'm going to make Raul Rosas show it to me. And I don't think he's going to get it done, but we'll see what the boys think. And we're going to start with Drake. Drake, how you see it?
I don't hate it. I wanted to go with Font at first, but Font has just been so bad against wrestlers and grapplers lately. I just can't. Rosas he's still young. He's still only 21, but he continues, he's growing into that man body. So, it's like, think of Chase Hooper. Hooper, when he first started, it was just like this. It was just purely submissions. And now you look at him, he's grown into his body. He's got power all of a sudden. And I think we're going to see the same development with Rosas. If he develops any type of striking and power, he is going to be very scary for this division. That said, I do think he obviously is going to rely on his takedowns. I don't think he's going to have an issue getting them. And I don't think we're going to have to worry about his cardio. I think this could be one of those gold mines of takedowns and control time. If Font can somehow stop them, he's going to have a field day on the feet. I just don't see it happening.
Joe, how do you see it?
Yeah, again, we sound like a broken record here. We need some underdogs here. I will say my favorite underdog is probably Ferreira, but my second favorite is Font, for a lot of reasons that you and Drake both referenced. I don't think it's like a super solid underdog pick, but I don't think that Rojas looked like a minus 480 favorite against Vince Morales in his last fight. I thought that was like really close. And you made the comment about Arichi Lang. I don't know. He only fought once in 2025. I don't understand why. You'd think he'd have a lot of energy, right? He fought more in 2024. So, his last fight, it's been almost a year. It's been actually, close to a year. He fought in March 2025 against Morales, and I didn't think he looked great in that fight. I think Morales was able to, I think that was a very close fight. So at this price point, at these odds, I would not be comfortable betting on Rojas. And because we do need some underdogs at 7.5K, I would go with Font here.
Yeah, and I think Font is going to be one of the lesser owned dogs here. I still think there's heat around Rojas, and he does get his takedowns. But again, I think this is kind of a style where I don't want to compare him to Grant Dawson. I think there's more to Raul Rojas than that, but you can see the parallels develop.
You're such a Dawson hater.
As goes on, and as the styles go on. As Drake said, he is young and he can develop, but I just don't know that development is happening here. So I think Font is the play, but certainly the upside with Rojas is there. But now we're going to go over to the co-main event, which is Ciao Borralho at 9,200, taking on Reinier de Ridder at 7,000. Line on this fight is Borralho minus 225, de Ridder plus 190. And I don't want it to be misconstrued that my Borralho pick is me writing off Ridder, hopping off the train because of the loss to Brendan Allen. We know that he tortured his body with the weight cuts last year. That was actually kind of a theme of 2025, especially late 2025. So I totally accept all that. My whole thing is I never thought Reinier de Ridder was that good to begin with. And I was always surprised by his ascent. I wasn't surprised by the Bone Nickel win because that's a guy just as athletic and with as shallow of a game as he has, or more so as it came to pass. I was surprised by the Robert Whittaker win, of course, but look at that fight, and Robert Whittaker throws a blind punch when de Ridder is doing very well and almost knocks him out. So I think the speed of Borralho, he does, I think, have a Muay Thai black belt or brown belt. He's not just a wrestler grappler. We've seen Borralho stay on his feet when he knows that's his best path. Did it against Paul Craig. And Reinier de Ridder, he's just kind of the guy. Reinier de Ridder is the guy, I think, who had the nip and tuck fight with in the UFC debut, other grappler, Gerald Mearshart. That's the kind of guy I thought he was the whole time. Like he's gonna be some fun. He's gonna have some good scrambly matches on the mat. But that was kind of his level. Then he had the nice wins. I think he's really gonna put back here. Can he get like his intercepting knees working as Borralho comes in? I guess, and that's what you're going to have to bank on if you're going for de Ridder. But I just think Borralho's, the athleticism and the power is just going to be too much. So I got to go with him here. I'm on Borralho fairly heavy, and we'll see how the boys see it. Joe, how you see this fight?
Yeah, exactly what you said. I think he wins this fight anywhere, Kyle. He could win it standing. He could win it on the ground. I obviously did not like what I saw with him quitting de Ridder. I like how Cal said, de Ridder the quitter. I thought that was pretty good. I should be wearing my Fighting Nerd shirt because Kyle is one of the legs to my favorite parlay on the card, which we'll talk about. But I like him here, however the fight goes.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with that. I think if it went to the ground, it would be much more interesting. I want him to keep it standing. Let me say that, but so. I do think that he does, and I do think that he gets the win there. Drake, what about you? How you see the co-main event?
I mean, I don't have my sweatshirt on because I've got a fresh tattoo on my arm that I don't want, getting stuff all over my clothes. Otherwise, my sweatshirt would have been on. That said, in the last fight, the real RDR stood up, and it's going to be great watching him lose again, especially because Joey has been Joey has spent the last 48 hours trying to talk me into taking de Ridder, and it's just not happening. See?
Joey!
Everything in him. Everything. Wow.
Just wild.
Joey, when you coming up to northern New Jersey to watch fights with me, brother? When are you coming up? Come on.
So yeah, no, I'm obviously on Borralho. I think he's by far the more complete fighter. I think he'll have no issues in this one. Especially, if he watched the Whittaker fight, he learned everything that he needed to. So I like him in this. I like him in in this spot. I don't like him for DFS though. So I prefer him as a bet.
Yeah,
totally agree. I forgot to mention that. Thank you, Drake. I don't think if you look at his points, his DraftKings points, he has not been a great DFS fighter. Now, obviously, that could change here if he gets a quicker finish, but he has not been a great DFS fighter. This is a far better fight to bet than it is to play in DFS.
Yeah, I see. I agree. It's better, but de Ridder is just so upright and hittable that I think it can happen. I don't know. I think there's a better chance.
I would be happy with that, Chris. If it
better chance than not than usual, I should say. Better chance than usual, but yeah, we will see how it goes. I've been seeing quite an unusual amount of love for RDR. I think people are thinking. I think what I said in the outset, that they're going to get people hopping off the train and catch them by surprise. But I don't think this is that kind of scenario. I think it's more akin to what you said, Drake, that they are who we thought they were. So I do think Borralho is the pick. But now we're going to go to the main event, and it is Max Holloway, 8,800, defending the all-important BMF title against Charles Oliveira at 7,400. Line on this fight is minus 200 for Max Holloway, plus 170 for Charles Oliveira. And it's fun. It's like with Charles Oliveira that people pretend that they don't see what we've seen for the past 6 months, 2 years, whatever it is. Even when he was at his peak, he would get hurt in every fight. he would come back from it and get these awesome wins, and that's why we love him so much, because he's a fighter and he always sticks it out. But against a guy who he's not going to be able to easily take down, who's not just going to hop into his guard, I just think Holloway's going to bust him up. We've seen him have power at lightweight. He dropped Dustin Poirier in the first round of their fight. He, of course, knocked out Justin Gaethje in the last second of their fight. He was roughing him up the whole way. I love Charles Oliveira. I'm not going to be sad if he wins, and he's going to give a scrap. But I just think Max, he's going to flow at lightweight. I think now that he's grown into his body a little bit since that first short notice fight against Poirier at lightweight, this is a perfect division for him. I think it's gonna be a good division for him, and I would like to see that rematch between him and Ilia Topuria, because I think with a couple of adjustments it could go differently. But I like Holloway here quite a bit. I think he's gonna knock Charles Oliveira out, as much as I don't like that so much, but I do think I do think Holloway has to be the play, but we'll see what Drake thinks. Drake, give me your thoughts on the main event.
I don't think there's ever a fight I will ever go against Holloway. Until he's 45 going against some 30-year-old punk. I love Holloway. I love Holloway, and every fight that he's in, I will continue to take Holloway. And every fight that he's in, he has got to be the best striker we have ever seen in the UFC, or maybe in fighting history. I don't care what anybody says. Argue with me.
Best volume striker for sure.
He's phenomenal. I mean, he's got the amazing footwork. He's got great speed. He knows how to combo. He knows how to pivot. It's just watching Max Holloway is just, it's beautiful. And unfortunately for Oliveira, he is not the greatest striker. He likes to throw with with power and try to hurt somebody and then go for the choke. He's not going to have fun in this fight. I actually want to see this go 5 rounds because I want to see Holloway put up 300 strikes, but we'll see how it goes. Either way, Holloway is a lock for me.
Yeah, I agree. Worth noting, this is one of those Mother Nature mad scientist tales of the tape where Holloway is an inch taller, and Charles Oliveira has a 5-inch reach advantage. So you figure that one out. I don't think it's going to come into play all that much, but do think it's always interesting when that happens. Joe, we went to you, yeah?
No.
Oh, we didn't? Okay, I'm sorry. No. Joe, go ahead.
No. You're right. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to complete the trifecta here. I like Holloway. What I'm going to do here is give you several ways to play this. I mean, I think this is somewhat binary, where I honestly, as much as I look at this fight, the only win equity I see for DuBronx is by sub, right? Yeah, I mean, I don't see him knocking Max out. I don't see him winning a decision. I don't see him winning the fight personally, but I do think that his win equity is by sub. Now, Max, you can look at by KO and you can look at by decision. I happen to like Max by KO. I don't think this fight goes the full 5 rounds. So there's a couple ways you could play this. You could obviously play it straight up at -220. That's not egregious. You could take Max by KO, which is +165. But here's a really interesting way to play this fight. You can actually play the and/or line on this, where you get Max by KO or DuBronx by sub, and that's -160. So, like, you could either use that as a hedge, like let's say you want to hedge that against some type of play that you're doing on Max, and this way, if Max wins and makes it look easy, you still cash. You cash at -160, right? And if DuBronx pulls out that, out of his hat sub, you don't lose, right? You get the -160 on DuBronx. So I kind of like that line. I haven't figured out how I'm going to allocate all my wagers yet, but I do like Max by KO. I do like Max straight up, and I do like that, what I call somewhat binary line of DuBronx by sub and Max by KO at -160.
Yeah, no, those are interesting lines like that. I always like to hear your insight there, but I agree. I think that it is somewhat binary. I just think the other end of that binary, that being the Oliveira sub, is not quite as likely, which is why I think Holloway is the play. But that is going to be it for the analysis portion of the UFC 326 card. But we are now moving on to hot takes. In fact, before we do move on to hot takes, I did want to let everybody know that only the best and smartest people listen to Fight IQ. Corey in the house, it's good to have you here. Be sure to like and subscribe. Definitely helps out. And again, thank you so much for watching. But we move on to hot takes. If you're new to the podcast, what we do here is we take lines that we feel aren't sufficiently juiced up. We bring them to you to bet on so that you can bring in potentially that sweet profit. And for me, I took a look at plus 320 for the knockout for Ciao Borralho, and I think that's too much. I think plus 320, it's too big for me to pass on. Like I said, the upright posture, the mechanical nature of Reinier de Ridder, just the power of Borralho, which he does have when he does strike, and I just think he's going to fold Reinier de Ridder, so I'm taking that at plus 320. But toss it over to the boys. You have any hot takes for me?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of gave you one early on in the first fight, taking a flyer on Fernandez by sub at plus 1,400. Not very sexy, but looking at a Max by knockout and Caio money line, and that pays actually what I think is a pretty reasonable plus 271. You can obviously back that up by playing it any of the other ways that I mentioned. You could take, Max straight up. Max straight up. I'm sticking with Cal on the money line because I don't know how that fight is going to end. But like even Max straight up, you're still getting positive money. It's still plus 103. So you can play that a bunch of different ways. But those are going to be my largest wagers on the card. It's going to be that parlay, and it's going to be how I bet on Max, and that's going to determine whether I have a good night or a bad night.
Interesting. So I do want to say that Joey sexed one of your plays up a little bit. It's Fernandez by second or third round sub, wow, which is plus 25.
Now, Joe, you're getting a little greedy, brother. I mean, I love the plus 2,500, but I'll be happy with the 1G that I pocket if I get the just straight up.
Yeah, but exactos are so cool to hit. It's like, I called that specifically right to the letter. But Drake, what about you? What are your hot takes for this card?
I just got one. You'll find it fun. It's quite a large hot take. I've got Jesus Aguilar, Tumen Dembrel, and Alberto Montez, all by submission.
Oh, wow.
And it is plus 10,000.
Wow.
The submission brothers. Yeah. That is fun. That's a very fun.
I'm hopping on that right now.
Yeah. Very lucrative potentially. Also.
Yeah. So sub Aguilar by sub, Montez by sub, and
Tumen Dembrel.
Dembrel by sub. Okay.
Yeah. No. Interesting. And so we got Joey's there. If you have one in chat, definitely get it in now. We'll read it on the air. We'll discuss. We will talk about the likelihood of it happening, if we like it or not. Bang, bang, boom. Anybody going once, twice, three times? Sold. That is it for the UFC 326 Fight IQ preview. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Thank you to my co-hosts. As I said, Joe, Sun Tzu, Drake Burton, at the Birds, at Sun Tzu. You'll find them on Twitter. You'll find us on Twitter talking about the fights, and we will find each other in our DMs, razzing each other about the fights when things go one way or the other. But that's going to be it for this, and we'll see you guys for the next numbered card next month. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching again.
Hey, let's give some love to Bradley, who's in double overtime right now against Valparaiso. Sun Tzu needs Bradley to get this win. I got him on the money line, so come on, let's go, Bradley, please.
Okay, Bradley. Everybody pull for Bradley for Joe's sake.
I'm gonna go bet on Valparaiso now.
Oh, fuck. I can't say that. It's in double overtime. Come on, Drake.
You didn't bet the over?
No, I should have, right? It's in double overtime.
All right, but Joe's bet aside, that is going to be it for us. Good luck in your contest. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.
Have a good one.
Peace.